to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about California's severe drought and whether that might nudge California lawmakers to put a water bond on the ballot this year. My guest this segment is Kristin Olsen, a member of the State Assembly from Modesto. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So there's the hammer of the drought. Do you think that might finally nudge the legislators into action?
I'm sure hopeful it will. I mean, if there's any silver lining in this terrible drought we're facing, it's that it's focused everyone's attention on the need to have more water in California to really solve this crisis once and for all.
You represent Modesto, farming area in San Joaquin Valley. What are the farmers going through right now?
You know, it's a tough time. I represent Stanislaus and San Joaquin counties, so we're in a little bit better situation than some parts of the state, particularly the southern part of the San Joaquin Valley. But it's difficult. Farmers are very, very concerned that they are not going to have enough water to produce their crops. And ultimately, that affects not only our state, it affects the whole world because we are the breadbasket for the world.
I know they would like to see some new storage facilities in California for water, and that has been a hang-up for years and years. In the previous bond, which was $11 billion, which many thought was too expensive for the voters' taste, there were $3 billion in there for two storage facilities. You don't know what's going to happen in this new bond, if there is one coming out, but I imagine storage is like a deal breaker for you, right?
Absolutely. It is the highest priority for really all of us throughout the San Joaquin Valley, Republicans and Democrats alike, and many other lawmakers throughout the state as well. You mentioned the last bond. The positive part about it was that there was $3 billion continuously appropriated for storage in it. And we expect and are asking that that be included in this smaller bond as well. It needs to be smaller. The voters want it to be smaller. There was pork in the last one that shouldn't have been in there. But water storage needs to be the very highest priority in the bond.
And if for some reason there is no more water storage in that bond, you won't support it?
No, and I think it will go down in flames among the voters as well. The fact is, if we're going to be able to supply reliable, clean, quality water to northern and southern communities alike, we have to build more water storage capacity. We have to be able to capture water in the wet years so that we can save it for the dry years like we're having this year.
And even the governor in his State of the State address did mention water storage as being important.
He did. I was pleased that it was a mention. I was hopeful that it would be a more substantive piece of his speech. I think he's still focused on that twin tunnel conveyance system through the Delta. And as much as he may want that, it's not going to do anything to solve our water problems. And it's really not going to be the answer for southern communities who understandably need more water as well.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because many of our Southern California viewers might say that sounds good. Let's get this conveyance system, these tunnels under the Delta, a more stable water supply for the farms down in the valley and the folks in Southern California. And your response to that would be?
A few problems. One, it's going to be very expensive, and nobody's indicated that the current plan is going to be affordable for residents and ratepayers in Southern California.
And they're the ones who'd have to pay.
And they're the ones who'd have to pay for it. And then the other problem with it is that in dry years like we're having right now, there's no water to send. There's not even enough water for the Delta today. We need to be able to increase the water in the Delta to restore it so that it can become a more reliable source of supply. And if that supply chain isn't there, nobody wins. So we really have to focus on building more storage above the Delta and below the Delta.
Well, they're talking about 2 more reservoirs. Would that be enough?
You know, studies are being done. We have to see if 2 more reservoirs would be enough, but certainly it's a much better place than where we are today.
All right. Well, Kristin Olsen, a member of the Assembly from Modesto, thank you very much for being here and talking about this very important issue. We appreciate it. And thanks to our viewers for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government On Demand. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.